Our first guest is Javier Mendoza, and Javier Mendoza is he teaches English and Spanish, and he's also a translator. And this is very timely, especially in the Valley. We need people that can do that. Thanks a lot for coming on, Javier.
Thank you, George. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. Now, where are some of the places that you're helping with translation?
That is a wonderful question, George. One of my clients is the Valley Children's Hospital. I also teach at the university in Clovis. It's called California Health Sciences University,
Yeah.
and some other big companies such as hospitals, clinics, and so on and so forth. We're helping people to learn Spanish and English so they can break the barrier language-wise.
And it's really critical, especially in healthcare. And I have a medical background as well. And when someone presents to a clinic or they present to the ER, minutes matter. And it's really important that they have someone there that they can communicate with immediately, that they don't have time to sit there and wait for a translator, right?
Oh, definitely, especially when it comes to an emergency. For example, sometimes the mother of the child, the father of the child, they want to have a conversation with the doctor, but because either or is not fluent in the language, they have to wait there 45 minutes, and that is critical time. Absolutely. I agree, George.
And we were talking, there are some apps that help with that, but that human component's missing there. It's really a lot more important that you have staff that are already trained and ready to have that dialogue, correct?
Absolutely, especially when it comes to really full immersion using the language and having fun. You sit with the student, you sit in front of the person learning the language, and you learn how the person learns, because at the end of the day, George, everybody learns differently.
Yes.
So you have to take that into consideration so you can teach the person.
Let me ask you, if you were to go into a hospital and you had a staff that was there, maybe 6 or 8 people that could not speak Spanish or did not understand Spanish at all, how long would it take for you to get them to a point where they could have a conversation with somebody and know how to react?
Because of the way I teach, George, that is pretty much about having fun, games, and so on. Normally it takes about 6-7 weeks for you to be having a conversation with this person or this group of people. So it depends pretty much of the way, the technique you use when it comes to teaching. So in my case, in a few weeks, I can have someone talking to me in Spanish.
That's very impressive. And that's well worth the investment. If you can take a group of people and within 8 weeks have them be able to function at that level, that's phenomenal.
And I always share with them that when I moved to this country in the late 80s, I was 26, 27 years old. I didn't know any English whatsoever.
Really?
So I got a few jobs where they fired me because I couldn't communicate in English. So I told myself, you have to learn it. I went ahead and learned English, and then working in the accounting field, because I went to college to become an accountant, I said, this is not what I want to do. I want to teach because I want to break those barriers where people travel a lot simply because they cannot use the language. So
this is really a passion of yours.
Oh, yes. Teaching became my passion quite a few years ago. And now I teach 7 days a week, George, and I love it. I don't see myself like I'm working. I'm having so much fun, and they are paying me to have fun.
Yes,
So,
and that's the thing. When you're doing something that's your passion and that means something to you, it really doesn't feel like you're working. Let me ask you something. I know one of the things that because I teach communication at the college level, and one of the things that happens, especially with different languages, is you'll get the content, but sometimes the context will be lost in translation. So what are some of the exercises you do to help overcome those barriers?
well, the most important thing when it comes to teaching those things, George, is encouraging the student to ask questions, making sure that the message is there. So you don't assume, as a professor, you don't assume that things were understood. So you create different ways, different dynamics, so you can make sure that people really get the point across. So the language does not lose you at any point.
So you're also looking at body language, tone, inflection, feedback, all those variables to make sure that you're getting the content and the context.
Definitely, George. When you are teaching a language and you see people laughing, they are having fun, that tells you that they understand what's going on in the conversation. And that's when you can tell that they are learning the language, they are getting the point.
That's great. Now, how long have you been doing this in the Valley?
Well, I opened my own business here in Fresno, I would say back in 2010. So we're talking about, 8 years?
Yes.
But I was a professor in Mexico in a university called the Tecnológica of Monterrey, which is probably the #1 nationwide in my country. I was teaching there ESL, English as a second language, and also some Spanish classes.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't aware, the universities in Mexico are very strong. We have a lot of physicians that maybe they didn't get into medical school here, and they go to school in Mexico, and along with having to become a physician, they learn Spanish at the same time, and they come back and they're phenomenal physicians. So I know Mexico's got some great schools.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do. As well as in the United States, of course.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And so, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, there are different ways. First of all, you can call me. My number is 559-367-4210, or you can use my webpage, which is FresnoSpanishAndEnglish.com.
Great. Now, what I want to do is, before we cut to a commercial, is I want to give you a minute or two to just talk to the audience and share some of the stories with the people that you taught and how it possibly impacted them in their workplace.
Well, this morning, for instance, I had a class because, like I said before, I teach, George, 7 days a week. This morning, I had a class with a child who comes from Madera Ranchos. Of course, I'm not going to mention names because I have to be professional. But I met this boy probably a month and a half ago. He didn't know any Spanish whatsoever. His parents brought him in and told me that they wanted this child to one day be able to learn Spanish. And this morning, we had a class where we were having so much fun using nothing but Spanish. So I love this because I'm telling you, only 6-7 weeks ago. And now we are having so much conversation in a different language for the child.
While they're in there, you're actually doing what's called total immersion, right?
Oh, definitely. I sit on the floor, I sit on the carpet, and we have so much fun learning shapes, colors, numbers, you name it. It's like if the child were having fun in Mexico, but he's in Fresno, just a few minutes from his house, learning Spanish. Oh, yeah, that is called full immersion because I know how to do it because I love what I do.
That's amazing that you're doing that, because some of the psychologists, when they talk about when you're trying to learn something new, if you're having fun, you're going to retain it a lot better because you're releasing endorphins. And in some settings, if learning is stressful, it actually releases cortisol, and the learning's hindered. So the way you're doing it, they're actually having fun, they're releasing endorphins, and so their retention level is going to be a lot higher.
Definitely. And George, I don't want just the student to have fun when it comes to learning. I want to have fun as well because I do it every day, all day long. So I have so much fun teaching languages.
Great job. And if you need your team, whether it be a workplace or a group or a club, and they need some training, please get a hold of Javier, give him a call, have him come in, and within 6 to 8 weeks, your people are going to be able to communicate in another language. Thanks a lot. Hey, thanks a lot, Javier, for coming in.
Thank you, George, for having me.
Really appreciate it.
Great talking to you.
We have to cut to a commercial, but we will be right back.